So in this session, we'll be talking about the down to earth 16 to 31st of August 2026, and we'll be focusing on some of the important coverages that have been done. Now this talks about mainly the energy transition, the Van Shakti idea, arsenic contamination, the Shitol Patti from Assam, one of the very important weaving craft which has been losing its export value in the recent years. Then you have the platinum and the impact because of the closure of the Strait of Hormuz and its impact on the chemotherapy drugs in India. Rugda, which is one of the forest mushrooms. So all these topics we'll cover in this section as we proceed. So the first thing is the peak power demand has increased significantly, nearly doubling from 135 to 270 in a period of 13 years. The non-fossil fuel have hit its 50% capacity, which is 5 years early than it was predicted. The solar capacity has tripled in last 6 years to 160 gigawatts. The coal supplies still generate nearly 2/3 of the total energy. The share has been rising for solar capacity by 3.6% to 8.9%, which is significant. And then we are talking about duck curve, which is the demand curve for the solar move. And this talks about one of the very important phenomena where the net demand, that is the total demand minus the renewable energy supply, plunges during the daytime, and then it gets into a peak when it is the evening of the solar output, because the usage significantly increases and peaks up in the time of 6 to 10 p.m. So this plunge and this peak affects the supply chain, and therefore we need to force the coal plants to actually have a lower output before returning to a full output. That has a significant impact on the coal production stations. The next is renewable energy. We have generation of renewable energy. 94% of all the curtailment has been done through the solar, and then there has been a significant loss of nearly 8 million tons of carbon dioxide because of the clean energy. So the root cause we would find is what is called as the minimum technical load. Most of the India's fleet cannot actually operate down only to the 55% rated capacity. Below this, if it is there, the combustion would be very ineffective and the equipment becomes actually unstable to use. So since coal cannot actually ramp down further, the grid operators actually move to solar or the substitute renewable energy, which could be wind or other forms, and that actually needs what is called as a must run status in order to make the system efficient. The next is the minimum technical load, as we have already said, mandated at 40%. The ramp rates are 3% per minute down to 1%, and the target is nearly 39 units, which is nearly 196 gigawatts by March 30. And we focus on nearly 6 to 30 crores per unit, which is still a cheaper solution than using the batteries. So coal flexibilization is very important. Then we talk about the renewable sources across the globe. So China actually focuses on retrofitting up to 800 gigawatts on its coal fleet within next 2 years. Germany talks about 62% renewables. Chile has cut the coal minimum load to 20 to 35%. In India, only 4 of the states can actually compensate. These includes West Bengal, Karnataka, Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh that have introduced the compensation schemes which cover the capital as well as the operating costs for flexibilization. The other states have not yet reached there. So the idea is to re-strategize, incentivize and involve cost for the same purpose. The next is focusing on the legal judgment. Now the judgment which was delivered on 29th July 2026 by Justice Bagchi focuses on the idea where the case was on a retrospective environmental clearance, which talked about regularizing the construction activities without the prior license. So it is the ex post facto green clearance. The 2017 notification talked about the valid delegated legislations. However, there have been 2 issues. One was can the ex post facto clearance be justified through the notice under the Environmental Protection Act 1986? So the court held that the notification is valid. The second was, can it be done through the Office of Memorandum? So court held that the Office of Memorandum is just an administrative function and it is not a legal entity. So contrary to that, the environmental impact notification of 2006 should be considered, and that was one of the major decisions that was brought under this idea. The next is the NGT's role in 2015 and the Madras High Court decision 2024 that squashed the role of the OMs and specifically the destructive powers that were in the 2006 environmental impact assessment notification. So the Madras court actually squashed the similar orders talking about the clearance for new normal. Also we focus on the contrast with Van Shakti I. Now Van Shakti I is the idea which talks about the post facto clearance for environmental law, and that leads or dilutes the room for strict exemptions that could be taken into account. So no official or developer has ever been prosecuted, and the principle of the court actually focused on the principle of non-regression. Now this non-regression principle is non-binding and it is actually no rolling back of the existing environmental protections and is not a binding mandate for the people. The next is YesTech launched by the center in 2023. This YesTech is interesting because it is the yield estimation system. Now this yield estimation system is based on technology and it is meant for insurance payout under the Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. So one of the very important developments, now Madhya Pradesh 100% relies on just 3 crops, that is soya bean, paddy, that is rice, and wheat, which is a rabi crop. So wheat is a rabi crop, paddy is a kharif crop, and again soybean. So 12 states have adopted the YesTech framework, which is the yield estimation system through technology, and there are 5 models which are used, which are artificial intelligence, machine learning, semi-physical simulations, and crop factor parametrics, which can be used for understanding it. So crop simulation and ensemble are some of the important models that can be used. Now farmers actually doubt the satellite damage that have been reported. So Fasal Bima claims in Madhya Pradesh have actually declined significantly. We have seen that over the period, and then you have the supervisions that have been seen. However, the reports have doubt on the satellite-based assessments that has been done, which talks about poorly detected issues, specifically focusing on undetected lands, which is actually a land of agricultural produce. So review of crop statistics found that nearly 72% of the CEE followed the scientific procedures. However, that has been reduced significantly, and in Jharkhand it was found that 41% of the CEEs actually were run by the untrained staff, and 1 in 5 do not have effective supervision. So the data that has been collected through it has been a big question, right? The next is a very important topic, and that is the shortage of platinum. Now platinum comes mainly from South Africa, Tanzania, UAE, Switzerland, Thailand, and Hormuz is one of the ways. Most of the chemotherapy drugs like cisplatin, carboplatin, and oxaliplatin actually contain platinum, and this platinum, since it is highly required for lung cancer, ovarian cancer, head and neck, colorectal cancers, it becomes one of the important ingredients. Now there has been a hit in the supply chain. The prices have been rising tremendously. In September 2024 to June 2026, we have seen a sharp increase in the price. Despite the ceilings which have been raised, the prices have been raised by 50%. and 1 in 9 Indians are at the risk of cancer in some form, and this is one of the reports that has been given by ICMR. So nearly 60% of the cancer treatment in some form require platinum as one of the major ingredients, and India has negligible domestic production for platinum, making it essential to actually import platinum. We will be continuing with the second part of the Down to Earth series and analysis in the next session. Stay tuned.